He said my fence was an eyesore and painted it gray without asking. I asked why. He said, "You should thank me. It looks better now." That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat at the kitchen table with a map, a highlighter, and the original permit papers he never bothered to look at. So I live in Kansas, just outside Wichita. One of those quiet streets with decent people and ugly mailboxes. Everyone minds their business, and that's how I like it. I've lived in my house 12 years. Built it up slowly. Fixed the roof myself. Laid the backyard stones one summer in 98-degree heat. It's not a big place, but it's mine. A few years ago, I decided to put up a fence. Cedar boards, 6 feet tall, stained dark walnut. I followed every rule. Measured the line 3 times. Paid the city for the permit. Even had the inspector sign off on the layout. I kept it inside the property line by 2 inches, just to be safe. It wasn't flashy, but it was solid. Gave me privacy. Let me drink coffee in peace. That peace ended when Gary moved in. The house next door had been empty for months after the previous owners split in a messy divorce. Then one day, there's a new white F-150 in the driveway, and a guy standing on the porch with his hands on his hips like he already owns the street. Gary is loud. He likes to tell you how much he paid for things. Talks like he's the mayor. Retired military, I think, but the kind that never stops barking orders. First time he saw me outside, he walked right over. Didn't say hi. Just said, "So, what's your plan with this fence?" I looked at him, kind of confused. "What do you mean?" "It's a bit outdated," he said. "You thinking about updating it?" "Nope," I said. "Built it myself. Like it the way it is." He smirked. "Well, all right then." I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. Over the next couple months, he dropped little hints. "Ever think about lightening it up?" Or gray would really match my exterior. Always said with a smile like he was joking. I just ignored it. I don't do subtle conflict. I figured he'd get tired and move on. Then last Tuesday happened. I pulled into my driveway after work, got out of my truck, and dropped my keys. The fence, my fence, was painted gray. A cold, flat, ugly gray like leftover concrete. Every board, from end to end. The same fence I stained and sealed by hand now looked like the side of a storage unit. I stood there for a solid minute, not moving. Gary stepped outside holding a beer. "Looks sharp, right?" he said. Didn't take long. Couple gallons, and a Saturday. I didn't say anything. He grinned and added, "You should thank me. It looks better now." Still, I said nothing. Just picked up my keys and walked inside. I didn't eat dinner that night. Didn't turn on the TV. I just sat at the kitchen table with a cup of cold coffee and pulled out the folder I kept in the drawer next to the fridge. Inside was the original city permit for the fence. Signed. Dated. Approved. And more importantly, a survey map. Showing exactly where the property lines were. Gary never looked at those papers. But I had. I looked again. The edge of my fence? It sat about 2 inches inside my property line. But Gary's new walkway, the one he poured a month ago without a permit, the one he bragged about at the block party, it extended 6 inches over the line. And I had pictures. That night, I started a folder. And a plan. By Friday, I had everything I needed. Photos. Measurements. Permit copies. The whole paper trail. I even called the city office and asked a few hypothetical questions about fence rights and property violations. The guy on the phone said something that stuck with me. If your neighbor makes changes to your property without permission, that's a civil matter. But if he has encroached onto your property, that's enforceable. I thanked him and hung up. On Saturday morning, Gary was out watering his lawn like nothing had happened. I walked over, nodded, and said, "Hey, you got a minute?" He turned off the hose and walked over, still smiling like we were buddies. "What's up?" "I'm filing a complaint with the city," I said flatly. "For your walkway. It's 6 inches over the property line. I've got proof." His face dropped. "What the hell are you talking about? I have the original survey. Photos. Permits. I built my fence legally." "You painted it without permission." That's one thing. But your concrete walkway? That's trespassing. He took a step closer. You're really going to go that route? I stared at him. Yes. He stared back for a second, then scoffed and waved me off. Go ahead. Waste your time. City won't do anything. He was wrong. The city came out the next week. A young inspector named Melanie walked the line with her clipboard, my paperwork in hand. Gary tried to talk over her. She ignored him. 3 days later, he got the notice in the mail. I know because I saw him tearing it open right there in the driveway. He was ordered to remove the walkway by the end of the month, or face fines. I watched from my porch as he paced up and down the concrete, phone in hand, red in the face. That was the start. But not the end. Because Gary didn't just stop at the walkway. 2 weeks after the city notice, he installed a security camera pointed directly at my backyard. Said it was for safety, but the angle was obvious. Just low enough to see into my patio area. I called the HOA. They said unless it's physically on my property, there's nothing they can do. Fine. I went online, bought 2 massive lattice panels, painted them black, and installed them, right up against my side of the fence. Instant privacy wall. Legal. Within the line. He stood outside the whole time watching me drill the boards in. Didn't say a word. Then came the noise complaints. Suddenly Gary decided to start playing loud music on weekend mornings. Old classic rock, blasting at 7:30 a.m. He'd sit on his porch with a smirk, drinking coffee, like he was the king of the block. I didn't rise to it. I just logged every instance, every date, every decibel I could measure with a sound app on my phone. I filed 3 formal noise complaints over the next month. 2 got dismissed. The 3rd didn't. He got a citation. The next time I saw him, he didn't wave, just glared. Like I'd betrayed him. But I wasn't done yet. Because Gary had made one final mistake. The paint. That ugly gray paint he put on my fence? Some of it had bled through to my side. I hadn't touched it. I'd left it there. Photographed it. Measured it. Waited. Now I had enough for small claims court. And I planned to file. I filed in small claims court on a Thursday. It wasn't about the money. I wasn't trying to get rich. I was asking for exactly $843.27. The cost of the paint, the labor to stain it back to original, and the consultation fee from a fence contractor I brought in as backup. I sent the official notice by certified mail. Required signature. He had to open the door and sign for it himself. I wish I could have seen his face. 2 days later, his wife showed up at my door. I never met her. I didn't even know she lived there full-time. She was younger than him by maybe 10 years. Blonde. Tired-looking. She asked if we could talk. We sat on my porch. She apologized. Said she didn't know he had done that to my fence. Said he had a habit of fixing things without asking. That he'd once repainted her sister's living room without telling her, just walked in with a roller and started. I didn't say much. I just listened. Then she said something I didn't expect. You know he poured that walkway to cover up the drainage problem, right? What drainage problem? She looked at me, then at my house. The slope from his yard. It runs straight toward your foundation. He was supposed to install a drain system. He didn't. He laid concrete over it and told the inspector it was decorative. I went cold. Because now I remembered, just last spring, I'd noticed water pooling near my back door after heavy rain. I thought it was just clogged gutters. I'd spent weeks trying to fix it. It wasn't my gutters. It was Gary. I thanked her. She nodded once and left. I never saw her again. I spent the rest of that evening crawling around my backyard with a flashlight and a level. And sure enough, she was right. His backyard slope funneled rainwater straight into the edge of my foundation. I called a structural engineer the next day. And then I filed a second complaint. This one wasn't small claims. It went to the city. 2 weeks later, Gary got another notice. This time it wasn't just about concrete. It was about improper drainage, unpermitted construction, and possible structural liability. Now he had a deadline to tear up the walkway and submit a new drainage plan. That was the moment he lost it. He came pounding on my door that evening, shouting. Not just mad, furious. Said I was ruining his life. Said I had no idea how much stress I'd caused. Called me a vindictive little prick. I didn't open the door. I just turned on the security camera and let it record. He shouted for another 2 minutes, then left. I sent the footage to the HOA and the city inspector. That's when he stopped talking to me completely. After that night, Gary went quiet. No more porch music. No more smirking. Just silence. I thought maybe it was over. Maybe he finally realized he'd picked the wrong neighbor to mess with. But Gary doesn't take losing well. A week after the city issued the second violation, my water pressure dropped. Not all at once, just enough to notice. Washing dishes took longer. The shower was a trickle. I checked the fixtures, replaced the shower head, even snaked the lines. Nothing helped. Then one morning, I found a piece of plastic tubing shoved deep inside the hose bib on the side of my house. Cut clean, wedged in just enough to slow flow without blocking it entirely. It wasn't there before. I know because I just cleaned that area 2 days earlier. There was no question in my mind who did it. But there were no cameras on that side of the house. So I fixed it. Quietly. I installed a new camera. Tucked it into the gutter. Aimed right where it needed to be. Then I waited. A week later, I caught him on video. Walking through the narrow gap between our houses at 2:17 a.m., holding something in his hand. He didn't go into my yard. Didn't touch anything. Just stood near my side wall for a few seconds, then walked back. It was enough. I printed screenshots, time-stamped. Sent them to the city, the HOA, and the court for my small claims case. 3 days later, his lawyer called me. Yes, he had a lawyer now. Some guy out of Topeka. The voice on the phone tried to sound calm, said Gary was open to resolving things amicably. Offered to pay $300 to settle the matter. I declined. I said, we're going to court. I want it documented. The call ended fast. Then the call started at night. Blocked number. No one on the other end. Just silence. I logged everyone. Dates. Times. All on paper. I didn't answer them after the third one. I let the machine pick up. Then one morning I found tire tracks on my lawn. Deep, curved like someone had tried to turn around and missed the driveway on purpose. I filed a police report. Didn't accuse him by name. Just wrote down the facts. But I knew. This wasn't about a fence anymore. Gary didn't want to win. He wanted me to quit. To back down. What he didn't know, what he never bothered to ask, was that this house, this street, it wasn't just where I lived. It was where I came to rebuild my life after everything else fell apart. He picked the wrong damn hill to die on. The week before our court date, a man showed up at my door claiming to be from the water company. Wore a reflective vest. Had a clipboard. Said he needed to check the meter in the backyard. I asked for ID. He didn't have any. Said he left it in the truck. So I told him, I'll wait. Go get it. He stared at me for 2 seconds too long, then walked off and never came back. I checked the driveway camera. No utility vehicle. Just a beat-up gray sedan parked 2 houses down. He'd walked in from there. I called the city utility office. No inspections were scheduled. I didn't even need proof anymore. This had crossed the line into something else. Harassment? Intimidation? Whatever it was, I documented it. By now, the whole neighborhood knew something was going on. People who never spoke to me before started waving. One older guy down the street, Hank, came by and said, that guy's been a jackass since he moved in. You need anything, I got a power washer and a good lawyer. I thanked him and we shook hands. The morning of court, Gary actually had the nerve to try to intimidate me in the parking lot. He pulled up close, rolled down the window, and said, you sure you want to do this? I just looked at him and said, it's already done. Inside, it went fast. I had the photos, the permits, the receipts, the paint test, even the structural engineer's letter about the drainage. Gary's lawyer tried to spin it like it was a neighborly misunderstanding. But it didn't fly. The judge ruled in my favor. ordered Gary to pay the full $843.27 within 30 days and to remove any remaining gray paint he applied to my property. Said any future actions like this could lead to criminal charges. He didn't say a word as he left the courtroom. But I wasn't celebrating. Not yet. Because I knew men like Gary. He wasn't finished. That night, I found something in my mailbox. No return address. No note. Just a single photo. An old one, clearly taken months ago. Me sitting in my backyard, reading. A zoomed-in shot, probably taken through the fence slats or from his porch. It was supposed to rattle me. It didn't, because I already had my next move ready. I called a lawyer that Monday. Not small claims. Not the HOA. A civil suit. Trespassing, harassment, emotional distress, and potential damage to property from the drainage problem. My lawyer said, if even half this is accurate, you've got a serious case. Gary thought I was playing defense. He had no idea I was just getting started. The fence is still there. The paint's stripped now, but the stain doesn't sit the same anymore. It's patchy in places, like it remembers what he did. I think about tearing it down, building a new one. But then I think, maybe it's better this way. A little worn, a little marked, a reminder that not every line someone crosses is invisible, and not every neighbor keeps their distance.